For those of you that love talking about animals, from Sci News, Timurlengia Euotica, new species of Tyrannosaur discovered in Uzbekistan. A new dinosaur cousin of T Rex named Timurlengia Euotica has been found in the Kyzylkum Desert, northern Uzbekistan. Well, this is fascinating to hear considering Central Asia, despite a number of dinosaur discoveries occurring there, is not often talked about. Looking at the picture, this is definitely a typical skinny, early Tyrannosaur depiction. Now, I do wonder how old this specific species is. We could be looking at an early Cretaceous individual, so over 110 million years old. So let's take a deeper look. And we have some species of Asdarchid pterosaur in the background. So an early relative of large pterosaurs such as Quetzalcoatlus, as Hatzegopteryx. Let's see. Timurlengia eotica lived during the Cretaceous period, approximately 90 million years ago, according to an international team of paleontologists led by Dr. Steve Brusate from the University of Edinburgh, UK. So, this is actually taking place during the early late Cretaceous period. At this time, you did have a massive increase in size when it came to the different species of Tyrannosaur, still not reaching anywhere near the size of animals such as Tarbosaurus and T Rex, even Daspletosaurus. But I do wonder if this animal probably weighs over 1,000 pounds, I'm guessing, or a little over 490 kilograms. The species fills a 20 million year gap in the fossil record of tyrannosaurs, the iconic group of dinosaurian carnivores that includes T Rex and Albertosaurus, and provides key insights into how the group evolved. So T Rex was in Montana around 68 million years ago, whereas Albertosaurus was over in Alberta, Canada, from about or somewhere around 75 million years ago. And the two never coexisted. And it does not look like Albertosaurus was the ancestor to T Rex, but a very close uncle. Timurlengia eotica's skull was much smaller than that of T Rex, indicating that it did not grow to the same enormous size. I would expect that. My question is, did this early Tyrannosaur not really increase in bone density very much as it aged, as opposed to later species of Tyrannosaur? This is very evident in species such as Albertosaurus, Gorgosaurus, Tarbosaurus, T Rex, whereas you still had different species of late Cretaceous Tyrannosaur that stayed very lightly built, but usually, as you head to late Cretaceous, they became much stockier as they aged. This animal doesn't look like it really changed much in bone density. Let's take another look at another Mesozoic creature. Now, this animal was found in the exact same country as Timurlengia. So, this is Tyrannoceratops. And no, it is not spelled the same way as Tyrannosaurus. But this is actually a relative of the Protoceratops. It is a member of the Coronosauridae lineage of ceratopsians. So the ceratopsians, as well as the Kronosaurs, being the lineage of horned dinosaurs that contains Protoceratops and Triceratops. But the Kronosaurs, specifically of the ceratopsian lineage, did not consist of every species of ceratopsian. And this animal was actually one of the smallest species of ceratopsian to exist, despite it looking like it's a 30-foot long individual. It didn't reach much more than 6.5 feet in length, or maybe 2 meters.
It looks huge.
Yeah, it's these animals were quite large compared to their overall length. They could reach somewhere around 380 pounds, or a little over what 170 kilograms. So Um, this animal for Uzbekistan and the time was a decent sized ceratopsian. So this was also a bit earlier um, compared to Timurlengia. This was somewhere around 90 to 93 million years ago, but it's very possible Timurlengia might have hunted Tyrannoceratops. Considering we don't have a full estimation on the length or the weight of the animal at the moment, but it's very likely he would fed on it. Um, Despite Triceratops not evolving for another 26, 27 million years, this animal had very Triceratops like characteristics. And the reason why I'm not comparing this animal to possibly other species of Chasmosaur or even possibly Centrosaur is because it's missing that upper snout horn. Now, believe in some depictions it might be slightly more evident, but at least in the specimens that we have, there's barely a sign of a snout horn being visible, but very distinct brow horns, or at least above the eyes. Now, looking at this specific species, Ceratopsian, when you look at Triceratops specifically, it's a very unique animal for one specific reason, because it has a big bulge of bone blocking its front binocular vision. So technically, you can stand right in front of a Triceratops as long as you're slim enough, and it can't see you. But that's why you would have to stand to the side of it or maybe behind it, and then it has better visual view and it won't be uncomfortable. I'm just saying if it doesn't know you. However, if the Triceratops does not know you, it's more likely for it to just smush you, bite you in half, um, possibly just stick a large hole through your body. Um, yeah, don't just stay away from it. Yellowstone bison are much
Are
friendlier.
you saying don't pet them?
Um, yeah, maybe the babies, they're okay. The reason I say that is because they barely have any horns when they're young, but I'd still be wary of that beak, and they might try to roll on you like baby elephants. So, let's head back to the article. However, key features of its skull reveal that its brain and senses were already highly developed. The new species was about the size of a horse and could weigh up to 250 kilograms. Well, I guess that's one of a but maybe medium-sized breed of horse. But anyway, I'm guessing this is somewhere around 500 to 520 pounds. So for the time, it's a decent-sized Tyrannosaur, and it's slightly larger than the Ceratopsian. So it's definitely I think also if it was in a pack, would be able to take it down, because Tyrannoceratops, despite its size and probably not exceeding much more than 3 feet in height, was most likely a very formidable adversary. I mean, definitely much more dangerous than any bighorn sheep or dull sheep of today. Maybe even certain species of deer. Though it depends on the time of season with those animals, but I wouldn't compare it to the Ceratopsian. Let's see. It had long legs and a skull studded with sharp teeth and was likely a fast runner. Also, the early species of Tyrannosaurs tend to have more of a skull structure that was used for slicing off flesh and not so much for crushing their prey items. That would come later in their evolution. Let's see. Despite there already being certain species of theropods, like the different species of the bellysaurs that already had this characteristic. Timurlengia Euotica was a nimble pursuit hunter with slender blade-like teeth suitable for slicing through meat. Yeah, I'd hope so. It probably preyed on the various large plant eaters, especially early duck-billed dinosaurs, which shared its world. It's not occurring to me what specific hadrosaurs would have existed in Uzbekistan at this point. There are different species of hadrosaur that have been found in Central Asia. Though, when it comes to Asian hadrosaurs in general, Russia has been getting a bit more recognition recently, but it tends to be Mongolia, China, where they're often talked about, because there's a wide range of different species coming, especially from Mongolia, but northern China as well. Saurolophus, Coronosaurus, those are two distinct hadrosaurs, but they lived much later in the Cretaceous, around 70 to 72 million years ago. So far after Timurlengia and Tyrannoceratops. Let's see. Probably okay. Clues from the life of Timurlengia Euotica allows us to fill in gaps and better understand the life and evolution of other related dinosaurs like T Rex. Well, here's the map or the diagram of the different bones that they found of the animal. And for a new species, this is pretty good. I mean, for the most part, many instances they might have found the tail vertebra, just one. That's all of the specimen. Maybe part of the um, like humerus bone or the upper arm bone of the animal, but this it's just really good that we have part of the bottom jaw as well as the upper jaw. So it's really interesting to see. It almost has like a Nanotyrannus sort of a look, and Nanotyrannus was a much more lightly built tyrannosaur, yet existing during the last 2 million years of the Cretaceous, like around 68 million years ago. So let's take a look at another creature. So here we have a creature from China, but this was much earlier in the early Cretaceous, around 135 million years ago, called Hematitan. And Hematitan It's not related to pigs, despite it being named ham. Um, is a member of the Titanosaur lineage of sauropods, or the long neck dinosaurs. So, this specific individual could reach over 56 feet in length, or pushing around 17 meters, and probably weigh somewhere around 15 to 20 tons. So, it was a medium sized species of sauropod, even for the time. There had been much larger individuals during the late Jurassic, different species of brachiosaurs, especially, which at this point still occurred in the early Cretaceous. Many tend to assume that the brachiosaurs just died off at the end of the Jurassic, and that is not the case. They would continue to flourish throughout the early Cretaceous. The titanosaurs have just evolved. They actually, at this point, when Hematitan, not you, um, first appeared, they had only been around for maybe 5 million years, just referring to the whole titanosaur family, and would flourish until the very end of the Cretaceous around 66 million years ago. These individuals probably had to be concerned about different species of carcharodontosaurs in the region, or more basic predator would be just a different species of carnosaur, and even different species of possibly a bellysaur within the area of China as well. So it is very likely that these were herd animals and having to take in somewhere between 6 to 800 pounds of food at least each day. So that's probably consisting of a lot of different conifer trees. So let's head back to the article. According to the team, the first tyrannosaurs lived during the Jurassic period around 170 million years ago and were only slightly larger than a human. Yeah, it seems to be correct that somewhere between 165 and 170 million years ago is when the first species of tyrannosaurs, especially the proceratosaurs, would have evolved. And at this point, they really weren't much more than 2 to 6 feet in length, or less, what, zero point 0.6 meters to around 2 meters, and maybe not weighing much more than 250 pounds, or a little over 120 kilograms. So at that point, they're preying on small dinosaurs, maybe smaller species of amphibians, reptiles, certain small species of pterosaurs, but not really exceeding very high in the food chain. So let's keep going. However, by the late Cretaceous period, around 100 million years later, tyrannosaurs had evolved into animals like T. rex. Um, yeah, I'd make that 102 million years later, but um, that is pretty much correct. The small size of Timurlengia euotica, some 80 million years after Tyrannosaurs first appeared in the fossil record, indicates that the huge size developed only toward the end of the group's long evolutionary history. Um, was it really only 80 million years? I think it would be a bit. Something seems. Oh, yeah, that's probably right. Okay. The ancestors of T. rex looked a whole like Timurlengia utica, a horse-sized hunter with a big brain and keen hearing that would put us to shame. Probably because most of the different species of tyrannosaur would have heard in low frequency sound like today's elephants, whereas humans cannot hear in low frequency. We hear at a bit of a mid frequency. Many species of mammals do. Let's see. Only after these ancestral tyrannosaurs evolved their clever brains and sharp senses did they grow into the colossal sizes of T. rex. Tyrannosaurs had to get smart before they got big. I think that's the case with many species of theropods in general, especially the Coelurosaurus, but the Coelurosaurs, which are the group of theropod dinosaurs that the Tyrannosaurs belong to, the Tyrannosaurs were the largest of that lineage. The rest, you had it where the Megaraptors, they started out small and became larger. The Dromaeosaurs, it was a bit of a mix in their evolution. It's like they immediately were huge, like with Utah Raptor, weighing up to 1,100 pounds, or a little over 500 kilograms. And then all of a sudden decide to shrink to the size of Microraptor and Sinosauropteryx. We're talking about animals that might weigh a few ounces, or even Velociraptor in the late Cretaceous, or around 70 million years ago, only weighing 20 to 30 pounds, or a little over 12 kilograms. So let's take a look at another species of Mesozoic creature, but not a dinosaur. This is actually a relative of the Sarcosuchus, which the Sarcosuchus was slightly larger than this animal. But this is Elosuchus. Both are members of the Forsycidae lineage of crocodilomorphs. So this animal existed around the same time as the Hematitan sauropod. Oh, by the way, I did not recognize all these this Silurisaur here and all these different species of pterosaurs. This is a really good drawing. Anyway, let's head back. Um, the Elosuchus could reach over 25 feet in length and probably weighs somewhere around 3,000 pounds. 25 feet or so, yeah, somewhere around 7.5 meters. And this animal was probably feeding on different species of smaller dinosaur within China during the early Cretaceous. So, I mean, not China, northern Africa. So, Algeria, Morocco, that region. This was also before Sarcosuchus, as well as predatory dinosaurs such as Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus, which wouldn't appear until somewhere around 98 million years ago at the beginning of the early Cretaceous. And this is also before predatory dinosaurs, especially the long snouted spinosaurs, such as Suchomimus, which is a somewhat distant relative to Spinosaurus, but still belonging to the same large family group. So Elosuchus, to mention 25 feet, Sarcosuchus could reach over 30 feet in length. However, I would like to say that his lineage of crocodilomorphs would eventually go extinct at the very end of the Cretaceous around 66 million years ago. Yet they first evolved somewhere around 130 to 140 million years ago at the beginning of the Cretaceous period. So it's very interesting. They had about the same level of time to rule the waters, at least the riverways of Africa, different parts of Asia, North America, as the titanosaurs did on land. I guess you could say a wide range of different species of dinosaurs. Central Asia was the place where many of the familiar groups of Cretaceous dinosaurs had their roots. The discovery from the Kazalkum Desert of Uzbekistan are now helping us to trace the early history of these animals. And for those of you that don't know, Uzbekistan, so there's Russia, Kazakhstan, and then Uzbekistan just south of Kazakhstan. Okay, so many of which later flourished in our own backyard in North America. Um, yeah, a wide range of different species of Tyrannosaur also existed a bit after this Timurlengia species. So animals such as Lythronax and Tetrorophonius. Lythronax was a 23-foot long tyrannosaur, probably weighing over 2,000 pounds. So talking about a 7 meter long individual, weighing over 980 kilograms, and was also likely feeding on different species of ceratopsy in the area, especially um, what was it? Maybe Zuniceratops, but I'm also talking about a North American individual as well as Teratophonius. So let me know in the comments what your favorite species of Tyrannosaur is. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share the show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.